language has energy, 100%.
It has energy.
Yeah.
And so once you kind of get that, then you're like, oh, from a communication perspective, my work is to channel that energy towards the outcomes that I hope to achieve. So then you need other ways to do that. So when I work, when I work with clients, we're going to work the Claxon method. What outcomes do you want to achieve? Who do you need to engage? How are you going to do it? So it's the what backed up by like, what's the outcome and why does that matter to you? And then the who, right? And you have to get in their mind and heart to figure it out. And then it's the how. So I created that method, which I call cleverly the Claxon method, 15 years ago or something, to like kind of give a little more structure to my client work. And so it was so interesting to me when I started working with you and I was hearing more about the universal laws, this idea of like, start with the what and the why, but don't worry about the how. Don't worry about the how, right? And I was like, oh, that's intriguing. turns out I've been teaching that for years, but in a different context. And then the other one, which I use a lot with teams, is I call this communicate IO, where the I is the inputs and the O is the outcomes. So it's a slightly different way of coming at it. But one of the big misses around, so now you're channeling the energy toward the outcome that you desire. We are trained, we are socialized to think about what we want people to know and do, especially as leaders. So especially as leaders, know and do. And we just, and again, conveniently in the organizational or business space, we're like, the feelings don't matter. The feelings are not welcome here. And I forget who said it, but like, we are feeling beings that think. We are not thinking beings that feel. That's just not how it works. And so when I start working with my clients, especially in one-on-one coaching, first I'm going to explain the energetic language because that's the baseline of it. And then it's like, in every conversation, every email, every Slack message, how do you need or want them to feel in order to be open to knowing and doing? And you have to start there. And that is, I would say, the most overlooked thing. And just to answer a question that some listeners may have, are my clients dubious at first? Oh, yes, they are. But also they're at a place where they're like, well, I'm not getting the results I want, so I guess I'll give it a go. And I had a client that I was working with last week who said, we have been grappling with this for months and months and months and gotten nowhere. And she said, we have been talking to you for 37 minutes and we have more clarity in 37 minutes than we've had in just months. It's like all of this stuff is very, very simple. So to go back to your, like, I translate. Like a lot of mine is,
I love it. Yeah.
A lot of my work is translating because I feel like everybody should have access to this knowing.
100%. So here's one of the things that I know about how people can be compensated at a higher level. So you've heard me talk about the law of compensation, and the law of compensation says you'll be compensated according to the problem that you solve, meaning the need for what you do, your ability to do it. You've got that 20 years of experience, and the difficulty in replacing you. One of the things that you've done recently is really claim that it's not like you never knew that your process was unique, but you didn't own it in
I didn't.
that way. And I think that what I'm hearing you say is, especially in that, example of more clarity in 37 minutes, is that your clients come in looking for communication hacks, looking for how do we bring in the revenue and speak to our funders, and we're not doing what we need to do as an organization. And yet the true problem that you solve, which is actually a bigger problem and a more human problem, is how to communicate your humanity. How do you not just as an organization, you need that organizational humanity, but how to communicate your humanity as a leader, as an individual. And that is priceless. And that is completely a unique way of going about communication strategy, right?
Yeah.
Like, think about the energy of what I just said, communication strategy. It gives me like this, like this compressed,
that sounds
constrained thing.
Yeah.
Like I can't be myself. And what I'm hearing you say is that you allow people, team members and leaders, to and organizations, all
Mm-hmm.
three levels, to really be
Mm-hmm.
themselves. And when they are themselves, guess what? They get to implement, they get to be the recipient of the law of compensation, because
Yeah.
then they are in that part three, the unique ability, right? The difficulty in
Yeah.
replacing them comes from that uniqueness. So you're doing it in that unique way, and then
Yeah.
they're able to do it in that unique way, which is a beautiful um, cycle of compensation there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. So, etymologically speaking, so the history of the word leader or leadership, technically, is to see one's own way,
Hmm.
to see one's own way. And I would just offer, so I love Margaret Wheatley's definition of a leader, which is anyone who wants to serve at this moment in time or to help others at this moment in time. So, for all of the people listening, you're all leaders. Like, you're listening to this podcast. You want to be of service. You want to help others. You are a leader at this moment in time. And that's really important because it also
Mhm.
means we can go through phases of life where we just need to sort of, retract a little bit. Um, and so, where I start with, all my one-on-one clients, my leader clients is, are you seeing your own way? And now let's get
Yeah.
practical, because a lot of this can sound like, whoa. And it is. I mean, it's metaphysical and quantum physics and a bunch of stuff. Um, are you clear on what your values are? It's surprising how much we flit over that. Because your values in an organizational context, that becomes ethics, right? We still use the term values, it's technically ethics. And so if you're not clear for yourself, I mean, this is like the fundamental piece to the,
Ooh.
personal integrity system. What three values do you hold so dear? And that level of direction, like, I'm very directive. Like, when we're going to write sentence, we're not going to write sentences. We're going to start with your verb for your mission. Just the verb, right? Because verbs are action words. So it's very directive in this way. And again, it's based on research and what works. So, like, just starting there, for anyone listening, are you really clear on what three values? If you get more, it's not as useful as a decision-making tool. And ultimately, that's what this is about. How are you going to make decisions in the world? How are you going to make decisions about your business? Yes, of course. But how are you going to make decisions in your life?
When you're ready for freedom, you find the courage to scale, but you don't have to do it by yourself. It can be so much easier, and it starts with you attending the Unstoppable Woman Summit, which, if I do say so myself, is going to be off the charts. Join me this November for an electrifying 3-day virtual event where female entrepreneurs from all over the world gather to learn how to scale their business and unlock the freedom they desire. And a special offer to all podcast fans. Get your seat today by using the link theunstoppablewoman.com/breakthrough and save $500 on your ticket right now. Go grab your ticket and I will see you at the summit.